So we are recording this meeting. This is Tuesday. Oh, or Tuesday. I wish it was Tuesday. It was Labor Day. Monday, September 2nd. You guys will find a copy of this recording on YouTube. I'm going to put all the meetings on YouTube. If you don't want to be on YouTube, you don't want to see your face or your name, you can either decide to leave the meeting or just turn off your camera. That's what we're doing. So welcome, everybody. My name is Erik. For those that don't know me, I am on the board of TRIA. I am the main meeting host. Started investing in 2016, and it's because of TRIA that I am now self-employed in the real estate. So this is my way of giving back to the community, as the community gave a lot to me, and I own my success through TRIA. So, first and foremost, before we dive into questions, again, guys, please sit on mute during this meeting. If you have any questions that you want to ask, there is a chat option, and I would like you to use that. And if I dive into your question, then go off mute and we have a little bit of a conversation. And I'm hoping with that format to really answer everybody's questions. I'm just going to sit here and ask everybody's questions. But before we do that, I wanted to share some feedback with you guys because last week, I don't know if you guys know it, I was at the Limitless Expo event in Dallas, Texas. Yes, Dallas, Texas. It is even hotter and more humid than it is down here in North Carolina. I never knew that was possible, but it is. So I want to share some feedback with you guys that I've gotten from there. Some really good news about where the real estate is heading, what we should be anticipating, and what people with more knowledge about real estate and economy say about the future of where we're going. Names that you have to think about are Robert Kiyosaki, Brandon Turner, Tal Yarber, Taj Nugent, many more. George Gammon. George Gammon is the financial advisor, or used to be the financial advisor of Robert Kiyosaki. I listen to his podcast all the time, so I'll be mentioning some nuggets that I've been getting from them and that I think is important to share here. So with that, let me share my screen here. Let me see here. Please not yes if you can see my screen. Perfect, awesome. So what the main theme about this meeting was with Limitless Expo was, of course, everybody was a super successful investor in 2022. 2022 is, of course, the end of COVID. Everything was on fire. You could turn stone into gold. Every property was a great success. And what we see in 2023 and in 2024 is that people are really start to struggle. Even people on the panel at Limitless Expo spoke about a few deals that they were very optimistic about in 2022. And now in 24, they regret investing in it. Myself, I have 4 properties that I am struggling with, that I have to be very creative with and have to put other resources into to save those deals. So again, it's not something, if you're struggling with that, I want you to hear that it's everybody, but let's put all our heads together and be creative, because again, in 2022, everybody was very successful. In 24, we have to be a little bit more creative. The big elephant in the room, of course, is, are interest rates going to drop? And that's why I wanted to pull up this article from Forbes. Everybody in the room says rates are going to drop. There's no question about it, right? But as you can see here as well in the article of Forbes, it is a question, how much are rates going to drop? Is the Fed going to drop rates 25 basis points or 0.25%? Or is the Fed going to listen to the pressure of the banks and drop rates even more at 0.5%? So why do I say pressure of the banks? The Fed is getting a lot of pressure because commercial real estate, office building, larger apartment complexes are are really, really struggling right now. And why are they struggling? 3 years ago, a lot of these syndicators, they closed on a loan and then did a balloon payment on it for 3 years, thinking that after 3 years they could refinance. Um, they anticipated rents to be higher and they anticipated rates to be lower. Where here in 2024, we see that rates are dropping, rents are dropping, and the rates have gone up. So we don't know for sure yet how much the Fed is going to drop rates. If the rates are going to be dropping 0.5 or 50 basis points or 0.5%, 0.50%, then you can have a real housing frenzy again. So it's a real struggle for the Fed to see how much they're going to drop it. But the great news, the overall news, is that the rates will drop in September. Now, the other news that's really stood out during the meeting is the housing supply. What you're seeing here is as you can see, housing permits for the entire nation. Now, I understand that real estate is a very local market, right? Like what is happening in Raleigh, in North Carolina, is not happening in Cleveland, Ohio, or in Miami, Florida. So this is a national picture. But the reason I wanted to point this out, and the reason that this slide was pointed out in the meeting, is here you're looking at the pending permits for new builds, for single family new builds. So not for apartment complexes, not for commercial real estate. This is just for single family housing. And what you see is here in April of 2020, when everybody was in-house, there was a COVID lockdown, right? Like nobody was allowed to leave their house. You see that the pending permits for new single-family homes is at a super low point. Over here, December of 2022, you see that that number is almost the same. It's only 83,000 permits more. Why is that important? The people on the panel pointed this out because building permits go by 2-year cycles, right? So the permits that were issued in December of 2022, those houses are coming in the market 2 years later. So those houses are coming on the market in December or January, December of 24 or January of 25. So there's not a great supply of new housing coming into the market. Now, the only thing that we have to consider, and which nobody knows, is when rates drop, are people that have a low interest rate, are they going to be inclined to say, oh, rates are lower, so I'm just going to sell my house as well? That would be fantastic. It's still not a number to worry about, that inventory is going to get so high that there's too much inventory in the market. Nobody in the entire panel, nobody at Limitless Expo was concerned about there being too much inventory. The opposite was addressed. Everybody thinks that coming next year, we're going to run into a shortage in the housing market as well when it comes to single family housing. Now, that is, of course, great news if you're in the single family housing. I wanted to point out some other local news, why I think here in Raleigh, we're going to even see a bigger uptick in competitive offers again and in shortage again. Because if we just take out a report from U-Haul, everybody knows U-Haul. U-Haul every year looks at what are some of the top destinations. Well, I don't have to read the whole article to you, because U-Haul reports ranks North Carolina number 3. So only Florida, and I think it's Florida and Texas are the two that are beating North Carolina. Well, then let's look at a report from POTS, the other moving company. Here, you see that Raleigh and Charlotte are in number 5 and in number 6. What is really, really interesting is that both Charlotte and Raleigh are making one of the biggest jumps forward in the entire report. As you can see, Charlotte came from number 16, Raleigh came from number 20. So there's a ton of people moving into the market. Then what you have to look at in as far as being holding a rental or building a rental portfolio is your expenses, right? You have to look at taxes are going aggressively up, and taxes for and there is no easier group for the government to target than landlords, right? Landlords have a lot of units, so they often don't particularly look at taxes as good as homeowners. Utilities are going up and insurances are going up. So what you want to do is when you buy a rental, don't anticipate that you're going to make more money in the future because utilities, taxes, and insurance are going up. Make sure that you can cash flow that property now before you buy it. George Gammon said something, and this is the last thing, the last takeaway from me from this meeting, and then I open it up to see if you guys have questions. So put your questions in the chat. George Gammon said something that was really, really interesting to me. He compared the rate market, the financial market, with the market in 1960. What did you see in 1960? You saw a big drop in the rates, like during COVID. Then rates went up, rates slightly dipped, and rates kept climbing up. So George Gammon thinks that looking into the future, that rates will potentially start going up again. When? Not sure. I definitely don't think that in the beginning of 25 that rates are going to go up. But his recommendation was, which I really like and something I'm really going to do, because you see that big syndicators that are now in that have apartments are now in trouble because they didn't do this. And what is it? That is lock in your rate. Don't do balloon payments anymore on your rental portfolio. Make sure that when you do a rental portfolio, or when you have a rental unit and you're looking to hold that unit for longer, make sure you log in the rate and stay away from balloon payments, because the anticipation is that between now and 2030, that rates will potentially go up again, according to the financial advisor from Robert Kiyosaki. So with that is some of the feedback that I've heard last week. I'm not sure if that answers your questions. And Ed points out Asheville is on the market as it was on that list as well of the pod. So in the entire North Carolina is growing rapidly. Any questions? Any concerns? Anything you like to ask me based on what I just shared with you?
Yeah, I was going to ask, can you talk a little bit about this meeting, Limitless? What is this meeting? What kind of audience is there? And,
Yeah.
Just to make sure, if it's good for us, then I would like to keep it on my radar, and other investors can do that too, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll let me put a link in the chat. Limitless Expo. So I've been going to this expo since this was the third year, and I've always liked this one because, again, you're listening to people that that are doing what we're looking to do, right? Like, for example, I identify a lot with what Brendan Turner does, right? Like Brendan Turner says, there's one bridge to wealth for me, and that is true real estate. There's nothing else. He has a large single family portfolio. He also has a large commercial portfolio. He does the trailer parks. So I like to listen to people that are in the market, that are looking at data that I don't think to look at, right? So Limitless Expo is again in May of next year in San Diego. It's a 3-day event. It's full of speakers. You have a ton of other speakers there. The speakers cannot sell you anything on stage. There is a whole different area where of course venues are trying to sell you stuff, but the speakers on stage cannot sell you anything. It's like a tria on steroids. There are 1,700 people there that listen to a speaker that really has valuable content and has some really interesting data about the real estate market.
Thank you.
Did
That
they
was helpful.
express any Yeah, thank you. So the next question comes from Mark. Did they express any concerns about mobile home parks? As I will likely sell mine in the next year in NC. Well, Mark, according to Brandon Turner, you might want to reconsider that, or I would maybe reach out to his company. Of all the investments that were mentioned, mobile home parks were still one of the safest and investments that people seem to like the most, including Brandon Turner. I haven't been able to purchase one. But the reason, but what I also mean is, the revenue on storage units is going down. There's too many storage units in the nation, and so the revenue per storage unit is going down. But there haven't been any concerns that I've heard with mobile home parks. No. Great question, Mark. Anybody else? And it doesn't have to be about this event, right? Like, hey, Erik, I have a deal. Do you mind looking at this with me? Or, hey, Erik, how will you tackle this other problem? Like, it doesn't have to be about Limitless Expo. I just wanted to share with you what I had heard from other people in the market, so that you guys are well equipped and be successful in real estate.
I have a question, Erik.
Yeah, PK.
So, what do you think about multifamily? The demand for multifamily, after listening to this conference, is something that you can relate. I mean, what if someone is looking into getting into multifamily? Any advice or anything that's something that you got from the conference or in general? Yeah.
So going into multifamily, multifamily is super under pressure right now, right? Like, and that's how I started the meeting by saying the banks are giving the Fed a lot of pressure, because don't quote me exactly on this number, but I think it's $1.2 billion in loans are coming due in the commercial or real estate. A lot of them are underwater. A lot of rents right now nationwide are going down, and if you really look at the rents that are going down, it's the rents for larger apartment buildings that are going down. It's not the single family that are going down. So the rents in apartment buildings are going down. All of these mortgages are coming due, and as you know, interest rates are now higher. So when a particular multifamily is under stress, so a lot of syndication, a lot of foreclosures might be happening. So if you want to go into multifamily, it might be a really good time to go into that and to connect with people. It'd be harder, of course, to find money, and people like Ken McElroy say, if you go into real estate, he just bought a $90 million deal in Las Vegas that had a value of 140 million. So when you go into deals, make sure that you leverage and that you don't have more than 50% of LTV, loan to value. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Erik, I'll add to that actually, Erik, as well, because the some of the John Burns research from 6 months ago was stating that the greater Raleigh market had one of the highest in the country of approved apartments yet to come online. And that would coincide, well, dovetail in with what you were just saying about rents coming down. As you bring that additional inventory online, there's that much more pressure going to be applied, really for, I don't say an overabundance of apartments, but it certainly is going to stress that market even more.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to reinforce what you said about the commercial. When you go into multifamily, you're no longer getting a mortgage; you're getting a commercial loan. I'm part of a project, medical office park, and we're caught in the 25 refinance situation. It's investment property. It's not owner occupied, and there's the banks do not have a stomach to do loans that are not owner occupied loans right now. And so we are, one of the partners in this project is one of the larger developers in the state. They have tons of leverage, and they are struggling to get commercial loans right now. So that is not an area that I would be looking to go into right now. Anything that's involving getting commercial debt, if you're not tremendously liquid and able to leverage personal assets.
Yeah, I think for adding that, and that was the consensus there as well during the whole meeting, right? Like, be very careful. Banks are going to be very careful, and syndicators that have raised money for years are now really struggling. Mark continues to ask some really good questions. So the next question is, what do you make of local wholesalers needing to drop their prices lately? Mark, that is just what the current trend is in the industry. And for those that don't know it yet, the current pending home sales numbers as of July of 2024 are lower than during the lockdown of COVID in April 2020. So nobody's buying a house, right? People are either anticipating or waiting for the elections, or are waiting for this rate to be dropping. But Robert Kiyosaki said it absolute best, as he always does, right? He said, as we know, Robert Kiyosaki was a helicopter pilot, and during his training, he was taught that when the engine goes out, you often want to pull your stick back in a helicopter, but rather than pulling it back and trying to land, you have to push it forward and continue to go. And that's what I'm doing in real estate. I currently have I bought 3 properties last week. I'm buying one right now, and I want to show you this one to highlight how desperate sellers are right now. So the deal I'm going to show you is in, hold on, where is this here? Oh. Let me pull this up real quick. I don't know what my computer is doing here. So,
Erik, if I can follow up with a comment to that.
Yeah.
The wholesalers are selling to a different market. They're selling to investors. So do you think wholesalers are inflating the prices too high, or they're not leaving enough meat on the bone for investors? Is that
so I hear what you're saying, but the national instinct from a human is to pull away, right? Like what we all did, or let me speak for myself. What I did in 2020 is capital was running at me. I could not buy enough deals to keep up with the request from people. Can you spend my money? Can you spend my money? So I just kept buying deals, right? And luckily for me, most of them are still very good. Like, I have 110 rental units. That's 170 doors, and of those, only 5 are underwater that I really have to be creative on or use my own money, right? What they're saying is, right now is the time that everybody should be buying, when capital is not running at you, and when it's harder to find money because it's easier to get deals. So the reason I wanted to mention that, Mark, is because of what I truly think is that a lot of people that normally that maybe do this part-time and not do this full-time, in 2022 you had a lot of part-time investors that, they could find money under anybody's pillow or anybody's mattress, right? Everybody was giving them money, and now it's harder for them, so they're pulling away out of the industry. And I think right now is the time to make offers. Don't be disrespectful and look at the numbers on the market. So I made an offer on this particular house in Winston-Salem, and as you can see, the buyer dropped at $60,000. And as soon as the buyer dropped at $60,000, I offered the buyer $190,000. Right? They laughed at me and said, "No, thank you." But then today they came back to me and said, "Oh, can we please sign the contract?" because I made an offer that was based on my numbers. I said, these are my numbers, and this is why I'm offering this, right? I was very respectful to the seller. So, Mark, I truly think that everybody's pulling away at a time that everybody should be buying right now, because everybody that buys now real estate is a 10-year cycle. We are at the dip of the next 10-year cycle. Anything you buy now, anything you hold now, is going to grow in the next 10 years. Was that an answer to your question?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. And then I know a manufacturing plant will be coming near Rocky Mount. Yes, but have you heard of any future companies coming that could be uplifted in the area? So I would recommend, Mark, if you have time, join the Rocky Mount meetup. A little plug here in September. We spoke about this during the last meetup. The plant that is coming to Rocky Mount made news in Australia. It's one of the so apparently, I'm not an engineer. I know some of you guys on this call are engineers, but apparently the plant that is coming to Rocky Mount is gonna build the new battery. There's not a lithium battery, but there's a new battery, a way newer battery, and Rocky Mount is going to build that battery, and they're one of the few factories in the world to do that. To your question, are there anything else coming into the area? I do not know of anything else that is coming to the area. You say Goldspur on Bigger Pockets radar. What do you mean with that, Ed?
So their weekly email blast last week, literally it had, what are the top 5 markets to be looking at, and Goldsboro was number 5 on their list.
Oh wow!
And so
okay, why in particular?
I don't know, and I was literally going into therapy, so I did not read into it a ton. I'll pull it back up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that anytime something in our backyard gets national email blast, lots of eyes start looking around.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's always important to know, hey, what's going on and why. So I don't know. And frankly, it would be another interesting piece with so much unrest worldwide. What impact does that have on military towns as it relates to real estate? Does that help the real estate? Does that put a fork in it? Does it harm it? And I don't know if you can address that, or anyone on the call, but that would be an interesting question, because there is a lot of unrest, and we have a lot of military towns locally.
Yeah, great question, Ed. And I'll be curious to see what other people think. I have a lot of rentals in Rocky Mount. The second biggest city that I have my rentals in are Goldsboro and Fayetteville, or Fayetteville and Goldsboro, I should say. But I'm steering away from purchasing future deals in those cities, because what I'm really missing is people that have a connection with that city. And my turnover ratio is a little higher in those cities, and my numbers just continue to struggle. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on the call that feels differently. I know a lot of people have invested in Fayetteville. Pace Morby, one of the speakers at Limitless Expo is a huge fan of Fayetteville, and not particularly. He didn't mention Goldsboro, but so there are national gurus or high performers that do invest in Fayetteville. I steer away from military cities just because my turnover numbers are just a little higher.
So I can maybe speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, please.
I am new to the real estate investment world, but I'm not new to military towns.
Yeah.
And during Desert Storm, we lived in Hinesville, Georgia, near Fort Stewart, Georgia. And when people left for Desert Storm, when the soldiers left, a lot of the families left to go stay with other family. And it became like a ghost town.
Yeah.
So I would not want to invest in apartments in a military town where that can happen at any moment.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's how I have been experiencing my rental portfolio, that all of a sudden they can leave and there's nothing you can do, of course, because they're serving the nation. I'm not saying anything bad about the people that are being sent overseas, but you're left with a vacant house that all of a sudden you can't evict anybody and you have no income and you have to do turnover repair. So thank you, Marianne, for that. And welcome, of course. Are you a new investor?
Sorry, couldn't find my mouse. I am. I have actually not jumped in yet. I am learning as much as I can before 2025.
Okay.
And then I plan to cut back on my hours at work and immerse myself more in the real estate market.
Thank you.
And given everything that you said earlier about the data, I'm kind of wondering, starting out, I can't afford to lose big on my first deal. So I'm kind of wondering, what is the best area for a beginner to start out under the current circumstances? I heard you said that it's actually a good time to buy, I think you're saying single family properties.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I'm a single family guy, right? And so and Ken McElroy is a multifamily guy, but Ken McElroy hasn't bought anything for the last 3 years in the apartment space, where Tal Yarber, Brandon Turner, and then myself, and I'm not putting myself in the same bucket with them, but I have been buying a lot of multifamily. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was at church, and one of the people at church said to me, "Hey, I got $1 million in my IRA. What should I do with it? I lost $150,000 last year." And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "If I told him, I said, if you want to go into the real estate, that I believe you have really 3 weeks to do that, because when the rates are dropping in September, I truly think that activity will increase. It won't be overnight. We're not going to see all of a sudden that there's rates drop and there's 2 million new buyers. I wish that was the case, but between September and definitely after January, activity is going to increase and it will be harder to get deals again. So if you want to get a deal, Marianne, maybe you team up with somebody that you know that can help you, or if you want to just have numbers verified, I can look at your numbers as well, right? But I really think that the saying in real estate, when is the best time, right? Yesterday was the best time, and what's the next best time is today. That is super true for where we are now in the market. When rates will drop, activity is going to increase. And if I have to look at the notes that Robert Kiyosaki, Brandon Turner, George Gammon said, inventory is going to shrink again. It's going to be harder to find deals. So the sooner, Marianne, that you can get started, the better. That's really my advice.
Okay, well, just putting it out there, I'm looking for partners because I don't want to start out by myself.
Well,
I want to work with someone who's really experienced.
I do a few deals with people here on the call. So if you have a deal that makes sense to partner on, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. We can talk about that offline as well. Let me go back to the questions. So Lisa said a commercial hedge fund. Ed in Goldsboro, a commercial hedge fund purchased a building downtown and are renovating it and turning it into apartments. Krishna says, how do you research development plans for an area, city, town, etc.? The Triangle Business Journal is a great way of staying in touch with real estate. It's a subscribed newspaper. I'm not sure how much they charge, a few dollars per month or a few dollars per year. And I always Google Rocky Mount development or new news. Just Google something about the area. Of course, when you type in news, you're going to see a lot of police news and WARL and stuff like that. But shift through the news. But what I really like and how I get my news is Triangle Business Journal. Anybody else on the call that has a better resource?
I'm looking to also look up the areas in like Cleveland, Ohio. So what would you consider in those areas? I know that you said you do some investing in this area too.
Yeah. I'm lucky that I found a partner that has a team there, that has a real estate team there.
Okay.
What I always do, so on Thursday I have my quarterly business review with my lenders, and how I support my presentation is by typing in I think it's Akron or Cleveland, Ohio, and then type in and Redfin and data. And Redfin has the site where you can buy houses, but Redfin also has a site where they share all the data about what is the average income, what is the average growth or decrease in prices, how long do homes stay on the market. They have a fantastic database for this type of information. If you're looking to see, is the market growing, are people pulling away, are the prices still increasing and stuff like that.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Lisa says with Goldsboro, they're keeping the military base there and will be moving soldiers. Yeah, true. Thank you, Lisa, for reminding me of that. Goldsboro is going to expand. I think other bases are going to close, and they're moving more military there. So that's of course that will increase the demand there. Lars says, are co-living spaces a good investment in the current market? I wish my friend David Meshin was on this call, because I gave him a hard time in the beginning of this year for co-living, because I've done it in 2018. Clearly, I did not have the right team. But I think it's one of the ways to go, particular per town. Right now, you have fantastic companies that can support you with that. And one of the companies is of course Padlock. Padlock is a management company that rents the
PetSplit.
Oh, PetSplit. Thank you. PetSplit that rents the room by the week, and it can potentially double your rental income. But your area needs to qualify. I've tried to do that in Greenville, North Carolina, where the ECU is. I figured there's enough students there, but PetSplit did not go there. So I'm having to think about other solutions. The other thing that was mentioned in during the meeting, and I'll open up my notes here, and a little plug. It's not sure yet, but I've asked her to come to talk at TRIA, which she would be very interested in. So I'm going to continue that conversation. There is a company that is putting seniors into your houses. So a senior needs to have about 300 to 500 square feet. So based on your area, based on the quality of your home, you can then house seniors in there. And I'm trying to find that company. That is RAL. And they are putting seniors into houses, and that can also increase your revenue for your rental. But again, all those strategies are very specific to an area in North Carolina. Not all areas in North Carolina qualify, and your housing as well.
Thank you, Erik.
Absolutely. Ed, you raise your hand.
I was actually raising it it was just pondering what impact the wave of legislation, the yellow shirt legislations that are kind of marching through municipalities, 17 states now, that are impacting landlords. And I was wondering about how that might impact the co-living environment as well, because it's basically it's really putting up an additional barrier to evicting someone, as well as the front end renting to someone, and putting up a lot of barriers. And so I didn't know if you or if anyone had seen any of the how those new regulations are impacting the co-living space, for example.
Is anybody familiar with the yellow shirt movement?
I am actually. We talked a little bit on our lunch and learn yesterday, on last week.
Yeah.
So basically, what they're trying to do is there will be no background checks, and there will be fixed rents, so which goes against landlords. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a movement also going on, and I shared a website. There's a legal attorney who is helping all these landlords. So he sends weekly emails is called watsoninvested.com. You can sign up there and you will get all the latest updates on what's going on with this yellow movement. And he is calling his movement as Hero. Hero is like ethical homeowners or something like that. I don't remember. But I would encourage every one of you to see and sign up for his free newsletter at watsoninvested.com. Yep.
Yeah, very good. So to Vanit's point, the yellow shirt movement, and Ed, thank you for bringing it to attention. And we are potentially thinking about, as board of directors from TRIA, to see how we have to inform our members around this. But the yellow shirt movement is picking up steam. It's a movement that have tried in North Carolina to legalize it. It has not worked, but they have tried in North Carolina to legalize that you cannot perform any background checks on your tenants. So you can. They say it is discriminatory to check your tenants for what their income is, and based on their income if they qualify for the house or not. To Ed's point, they are now trying to get this legalized in 17 states. To the latest information that I have gotten is that they have been successful in Kansas City. Again, they have tried it in North Carolina. They have not been successful. But I think they will continue to try it. It's something to put on your radar, something to educate yourself on, guys. Definitely do your research. And again, Ed, Lisa, and I will during our board meeting for TRIA, we'll see what we have to share and what we can share around this news, because it should make people should be aware to continue to look at this and the development. Because if you're a landlord, 110 or 170 doors, 110 houses, it can have a big impact on your business. And as a matter of fact, I've made the decision that I'm going to get rid of a lot of my rental portfolios, and I'm going to convert my portfolio next year. I'm going to convert most of mine over into owner finance units. So I'm going to finance them. And again, also with that, guys, if you do owner financing and you do it to a person that is moving into the house and not an investor. So if you sell your house to an investor, you hardly have to obey by the Dodd-Frank rules. But if you're selling your house to a buyer that is moving into the home, you have to be very, very careful, because you have to comply by the Dodd-Frank rules. So there are rules that you cannot give them a balloon payment shorter than 8 years. You have to check. You have to verify their income. You cannot. The rent or the mortgage payment cannot be more than 50% of their income, etc., etc. So be very careful with that as well if you decide to go that route. But I am going the route of owner financing most of my rental portfolio. Maxime asked me a question. In one of your Instagram stories, you said that you are tired of surprises, 4 doors when you do flips, and that you need to start building houses. Are you going to build instead of flips? Maxime, I can always rely on you for great questions. I will always be doing flips. I will always have rentals, or I will always have owner finance properties. I said in May, and this is, guys, listen, this is how wonderful TRIA is. Side note, by the way, I will be stopping TRIA in Rocky Mount. Lisa is going to take over in the new year. But my last meeting in Rocky Mount TRIA, I am going to do a deal with the people that are in that room in TRIA Rocky Mount. I am going to go through the whole deal with only the people in that room. And why? TRIA is so powerful that everybody in that room has the money, is a real estate agent, is an investor. So one of these meetings in the Rocky Mount meeting, I will have no talker. I will have nobody that presents. I'm just going to sit there, and with the people in that room that decide to go to the meeting, we're going to buy a house just for fun. Really, because that's how powerful TRIA is. TRIA is so powerful that I said in May, hey, I want to be a builder. And all of a sudden, I got a property on the contract in Durham for across the highway of the Bull Park for 2.8 acres for $250,000. Development cost of the entire project, 16 homes, including the development of the land, because you're looking at raw land, is $5.3 million. And the sales price on a conservative ratio is 7.3 million. Now, I'm not going to make all of that money because I need equity partners. I need this civil engineering costs 87,000 per lot times 16, right? It's 1.3 million just to develop the land. I don't have that. But what I want to say, and thank you guys all for all your thumbs up and everything. What I want to say is, be careful what you ask TRIA, because you're going to get it. Like I said in TRIA in the May meeting, just for fun, I'm going to be a builder, and all of a sudden I have almost 3 acres on the contract. I'm building another house in actually maybe this is a plug, but Ed is one of my lenders for a deal. I bought a lot in Durham, house on this side. There's a road on this side, both sides, and now I separated a lot, and now I'm going to build a house here as well. So all of a sudden, Maxime, I'm now a flipper and I'm a builder. So super excited. Building is they say it's much easier. I'm just saying this because the startup of building is a long time, but building is much easier than flipping because you're not trying to tie in new with old. You're just going new all the way. Lisa said in Rocky Mount, not Goldsboro, 100 a year. This must be referring to something.
Newspaper, I guess.
Oh, newspaper. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Any other questions? Man, this was you guys.
Sorry, Eric. In Rocky Mount, that is where the company bought the property. They're putting the retail down, the apartments up, and they said they want to buy as many properties as they can in downtown Rocky Mount.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, that's what, because she said in Goldsboro downtown. And I'm like, no, wrong city.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Triangle Business Journal's $100 a year. Right now, they have a special. What you do is you don't sign up online. You call them and say, I saw the $80 a year advertised, and they'll give it to you. So.
Oh, there you go, guys. Only during this Q&A did you hear that. I personally, so during the last meeting in Rocky Mount, we had a couple talk. Jerry Ann and Matt, they converted long-term rentals into Airbnbs in Rocky Mount. Yeah, Arsh, yeah. That my head went the same way. Really? You have Airbnbs in Rocky Mount? They point out a super important point. When a company is building a new factory, that means they will be sending people from overseas. They will be sending people to that area. There will be builders. There will be people that need housing. Matt, who was presenting, he used to be a smoker and he used to be on the road a lot for his work. And he said back in the day when he was younger, he wished there was Airbnbs because you travel with all your tools. And if you have to park it in front of your hotel, that's not safe. If you want to go smoke a cigarette, you have to take the elevator 4 floors down, be outside standing. With an Airbnb, you have your own kitchen, your own parking. You can just walk outside in the yard and smoke a cigarette, right? Like, the reason I want to point this out, I'm expecting that with the build of this new factory, that the demand for Airbnb in Rocky Mount is going to increase. This entire presentation or this entire call is for entertainment purposes only. So do your own research, but based on what we normally see when new factories come in town, like in Winston-Salem and Greensboro, they're going to build 2 battery plants on that side of the state as well. The increase for short-term rentals will increase because there is labor that has to move into the state for a short amount of time to build up a factory or to set up a factory.
So eventually that labor is going to end, right? And what do you do with your Airbnb?
Yeah, turn it into a long-term rental, or because of the new demand. I think, and Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, or somebody that knows the data. I think the new factory will have 1,000 employees. right? And because of that new factory, there will always be, and Lisa says correct, there will always be higher demand for people to travel to the state. And building a factory, you don't do that like a house, right? In 9 months. This will take several years for that to complete. So say it will take 2 years. Now you have an Airbnb for 2 years. You cash flow them more, and then you can or turn it into a long-term rental, or you have, now the factory is done. Now you have more people that want to buy in that area, so you have more appreciation in that area.
So at what point, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, and I have it on good authority that the casino bill will probably pass next year from somebody that is working maybe in that arena.
I'll dive into that after this. But Mariana,
they're going to limit it to between 7 and 9 across the state. But one of the rules will be that a specific percentage of it, half or more, will have to be managed or run by the Native American tribes that are recognized in North Carolina, because they don't want to take away from the casinos that are already in Cherokee, Harrah's, and that. So Rocky Mount wants one up there, and those things are huge economic drivers. Just look at Danville, Virginia. So
thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. But
for anybody that didn't understand, let's dive into that after the question Mariana has. Mariana, what was your question?
Oh, well, I see that people are writing their questions. Maybe I should be doing that as well. But my question is, at what point can you actually count on a company coming? Because in the Triangle area, a few years ago, we heard that, I think they said AT&T was going to build here. Then they said Amazon was going to build here. Then they said Apple was going to build like less than 3 miles from our home, but it never happened.
AT&T, I personally haven't heard the news, but I'm not saying you're wrong. That might be very true. I know that Apple has delayed it, and there's never a telling, right? So, I mean, a company can still pull out even when the concrete is poured, when the slab is poured. Heck, they can still pull out when the building is there. I mean, I have seen Amazon in Fayetteville. They built this massive warehouse, one of the biggest warehouses in the area, and as far as I'm concerned, it's still sitting vacant now for a year. So you never have that. But investment, Mariana, investment is always a risk, right? No matter what you're doing, no matter how safe you run your numbers, investing always comes with a certain risk, right? No matter if people are saying it's a guarantee. And I'll go back to the questions that PK had here and Faneet. Thank you, Faneet, for sharing that was an investment. So Rocky Mount has been talking about building a casino. The roads are there. They have widened the roads. They have worked on the exit on I-95. They have worked on the exit of, I believe it's the Highway 64. They have widened the roads. So the infrastructure is there. The official decision of building a casino, which would have a huge impact for Rocky Mount in a positive way. The final decision of that the casino will be coming has not been made. What Lisa just shared was intel information that there might be a bigger certainty that the casino will be coming to Rocky Mount. If that is the case, plus the new battery factory that is coming, I'm saying I need to be careful what I'm saying right now, but it will be very difficult not to be successful in Rocky Mount. Run your numbers and run your numbers conservatively. Base your numbers on the value now, not don't base your numbers on future appreciation. But if you base your numbers on today's valuations and today's appreciation, I think Rocky Mount will have some great appreciation over the next few years.
Full disclosure, not Rocky Mount. The casinos will pass more than likely next year in the state, and then it's going to be up to the municipalities to fight it out. But I do think Rocky Mount will come guns blazing, and because they're way ahead of everybody else. No one else has even put the infrastructure in.
And we had the Rocky Mount subgroup had the mayor talk about this last year in November. So he was already talking about that then. So
I wanted to ask, widening the roads and all that infrastructure, that's a good indicator that these deals are pretty, I mean, they are preparing that infrastructure for something.
yeah. It is an indicator that they have some information, or that they're really trying to convince the state that it should be going there, and that they qualify. I mean, it's like going to. I see it maybe weird analogy, but I see it as going to a building contest, right? Like, you first have to put in the workout to really convince the jury that you have the biggest muscle, right? Like, that is kind of what Rocky Mount did, showing that they have the muscles and that they have that they're ready to go, and that they didn't only say that they're ready to go. They showed the state, hey, we got a 4-lane highway right in front of the casino. We changed the exit on I-95. We are ready. So it is definitely there for the casino to be there again. Fingers crossed. How PK asked me how you go about do owner financing that you talked about. We can have a whole.
Hey, Eric, that's actually Jim McClure is talking on Wednesday at Lunch and Learn. He is talking about one step of that, which is going to the courthouses and doing the research, but that is stepping straight into that. And that's something that he's done for 20 years, and has definitely got that process down pat. And so I would just putting in a plug that, for Wednesday Lunch and Learn.
So
that's who's going to be
this Wednesday. What is it? September the 5th.
This Wednesday, 2 days from now.
2 days from now. Okay, I might have to be there. So how am I going about it? I qualify a property for owner financing, and then I hire a processor that does the whole process for me. You pay about $1,900. You don't pay that. The buyer pays that. And then you hire a servicing company that will charge the buyer $25 per month to process the loan, to make sure that the insurance and taxes is all escrowed, so that you don't have to do that. They make sure that you and the buyer stay compliant with the Dodd-Frank rule. But more important, if the buyer stops paying their mortgage, they will go to the courthouse and fight the whole thing for you. It's basically like a mortgage company. If you do owner financing, guys, I'm just going to throw it out here. If you do owner financing, make sure you go to a servicing company. It does not cost you anything. It will cost the buyer $25 a month. It is so worth it. It gives you peace of mind. A friend of mine, he did owner financing, did it himself, and now he's already, for the last 8 months, he's trying to get this person out, trying to go to court and all of that stuff. Save yourself, let the buyer pay the $25. And it's a really good friend of mine called that I'm in partnership with in Cleveland, Ohio. He calls it mailbox money. Just get your mailbox money. Every month, this check comes in your box from the servicing company. And the servicing company makes sure that the buyer pays their mortgage to you on time.
Thanks for that, Eric.
Yeah.
Can you name those companies, like the processor you mentioned, about processor and the servicing company? Is it something that you can share?
So the company I'm using is called calltheunderwriter.com. Calltheunderwriter.com. They help me right now with a deal that I'm doing in Rocky Mount. And servicing companies, you can think of many. One that comes to mind right now is FCI. FCI is one of the nation's biggest one, and they can help. As far as owner financing, and again, this is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. You can get hard money loans for it. So I am giving. I need to draw it out at some point, but I am giving portion of my profit. So in Rocky Mount, for example, if I sell the property now, I make $30,000 profit. So, sorry, $30,000 profit minus the realtor fees. So say another, I'll make $22,000 profit. I'm selling the property in Rocky Mount with $20,000 down. So I'm basically breaking even for the profit that I would have been making now if I would sell it. And then over the course of 30 years, and I had to do owner financing on this property because banks won't loan on this property. So over the course of 30 years, I am making a total interest revenue profit. Yeah, an interest profit of $209,000 over 30 years. There's my retirement money right there. I'm giving up some of that money. I'm giving up, I think it's 119,000 of that. I'm giving up to my hard money lenders. And so I pay them off first. And then at month 180, they're paid off. And then after all of the money just comes in into my bank account. I don't have a roof anymore. I don't have a toilet anymore. I don't have an HVAC anymore, but I still have the income.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that information.
Thank you.
Eric, I want to re-emphasize one part that you've already mentioned, and folks that don't know Dodd-Frank or don't know the words, they might have just heard about it. Look that up. It's why you probably know many hard money lenders that lend to other companies for fix and flips and new construction, and you don't know any that lend specifically for that. And it's because the minute you do owner financing and you lend money to an individual, you just became a bank. And if you haven't figured out, banks are highly regulated. And Dodd-Frank is a very draconian law that has some extremely harsh penalties. So you do have to know what you're doing when it comes to the Dodd-Frank rules. You can do one individually a year and not qualify, or you can do up to 3 if you structure it right and not qualify a year. But to do the numbers like Eric was saying, or to do really beyond one, you're gonna have to qualify and meet the Dodd-Frank rules. And so his counsel, their suggestion, because we're not giving advice, is a suggestion to work with a servicer, to work with companies that are structured to handle that. It's basically like a property manager for a rental property. It's extremely sage advice, because that will save you an enormous amount of headache. Yes, you'll lose a little bit of money on the cash flow. They take a haircut. That's how they make a living. They keep you out of jail, and that's a very important thing. So,
yeah, definitely.
That's my 2 cents worth.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Always hire smarter people than you are, and I'm always the dumbest kid in a conversation. And if I take that approach, then I just listen to other people that give me advice. And this advice was given to me as well. Hire companies that will charge you something for it, but it will be billed to the buyer. With that, guys, we are past 8 o'clock. I don't even know where. 8:15 almost. Are any other questions that you might have? And I appreciate you guys staying on here so long. Thank you so much for all the great questions. Mark, thank you again for joining and all your questions. Anything else from anybody?
This is totally off topic, but do you mind if I ask where you're from?
Absolutely not. I'm from Amsterdam.
Okay.
I tell people, if it ain't Dutch, it ain't much. I have an accent, yeah. And where are you from?
I'm from Denmark originally.
Denmark. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, same neck of the woods. So be careful. Be careful for those Europeans coming here and invest. I would like nice meeting you, Mike. And I hope to see you at some of the 3 events if you haven't been already. But PK, thank you. But yeah, 3 runs a promo right now that you can sign up for $20 a month, and if you like it, sign up for the year, and then go from there. But
yeah, I've been to one other one, and like you said, it's very powerful. There's so much to take in.
Yeah.
I am amazed at how active you guys are. So
thank you, appreciate it. And we just would like to give back. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Vineet, and Raj, for coming. September 12th, self-directed IRA. I have a self-directed IRA. Be there 6 o'clock, downtown Raleigh. We have a guy come talk about this. Self-directed IRA. If you don't have a self-directed IRA yet, definitely be there. It's my IRA company that's coming at Venta. The reason I did that, they are the cheapest so far in the industry, and they serve me really well. So if you have a few $1,000s like I have, and you want to get started in your self-directed IRA, I recommend you be there the September 12th, 6 o'clock. With that, guys, I appreciate you. 2 more events this week. Lunch and Learn, of course, on Wednesday. And then we do the deal exchange on Thursday with David Meshin. So if you're looking for a deal, Mayan, you said you're looking for a deal. If you're looking for a deal, go to David's deal exchange in Raleigh.
Okay, thank you.
Guys, this was Labor Day. I appreciate you joining me here on your vacation. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Maxime, do you mind staying on for me for a second? I need to ask you a few things.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Sure.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
guys, thank you.
Hey, Eric, and turn your video off or recording off if you
Yeah.
don't want that added to it.
Yes.